welcome to another Today's Author. As we try to do with this particular program, is to bring you some authors who are either locally based or somewhere in the region, so to speak, and let them talk to you about the things that they are experts on, and also what it is exactly they're trying to get across to you, the reader, entice you to want to see what it is that they have spent so many hours and days putting together to put on a bookshelf or have for sale on the open market. Today's author is someone who is exceptional. We're glad to have her here. We have Doreen Lang. Doreen is more than just an author, though. She's also a consultant and a speaker. Welcome to Today's Author.
Thank you very much.
If you will, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I have been working in more or less management positions my entire career. And many years back, it will date me, but say 7-8 years back, I was working for a senior living community, and they had a heck of a time keeping a staff. And that's the highest percentage there is. You've got an industry where within the first 90 days, between 24 and 38% of people quit within the first 90 days, but in senior living and healthcare industries, over 55% of people quit within the first 90 days. And you put a lot of time and effort into that, so when people leave, you have to say, what the heck am I doing? So I started to really look at that and drill down, and that more or less turned me into a very passionate person about what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong.
Did you find yourself, were you looking at a lot of research data? Were you talking with other corporate head honchos who maybe were experiencing the same thing and trying to gather the data to find a solution?
Exactly. I interviewed employees that had left. I talked to people who were there who I could tell had one foot out the door. I spoke with executive directors. I started to find out there was pain across the board. So I decided the only way I'm going to really find out some best practices on how to turn that around was start to look at companies that, of course, was doing a fabulous job. And that took me to, of course, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and it took me to, believe it or not, Walmart, Federal Express. I started to really study those organizations and what do they do. And I could see that, and some people would say, well, sure, Doreen, they have money to invest in their employees. It's not about that. It's a simple, which I wrote about, simple system, best practices, how to onboard people, which is a huge retention tool.
And again, we're here to actually talk about your book, Hang On to Your Stars, and right in the title is First 90 Days, a Step-by-Step Employee Engagement Solution for the Senior Living Community. Did the title come easy?
I really wanted, even though it's really long, I want to be very clear. I wanted people to know what they're going to get when they get in there. They're going to learn what's going to happen for the first 90 days, because statistically, that's where you want to focus. And after I had written the first book, I had other companies call me and say, can I use this for my storage company? Can I use this for my stationery company? The same principles. And I thought, I don't want them to be frustrated with that. So I carved back into my original book and pulled out my best practices and geared it towards all industries. So any industry now can pick it up.
Is it strictly industry? Is it strictly corporate America? Or what if you have somebody who has 7 to 10 employees, these smaller to medium-sized businesses?
That's an excellent question. Everyone does. If you've got people breathing within your organization, I don't care if there are 2 people or 200 people, you need an organized system that works with each person, so they're each really learning what they all need to know. They're discovering who they're working with, who they're working for, the mission, and really roll that out in a very engaging way. And that's across the board. That's no matter how many employees you have.
Of some of the information you were able to gather, how much of it was, when you were able to engage with the employers or with the employees who, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks they were done? Was most of it what the work environment? Was it the people they were working with? Was it just that they felt that? What were some of the things that you learned as you were doing this research?
I learned a tremendous amount, like anything else, right? When you just submerge yourself into it. I learned that And my solution is an engagement coordinator. And what I mean by that is, if I were to hire you tomorrow and I put you in the room in the studio and you're kind of looking around, I show you a couple of these things, I say, play with this a little bit, I'll be back tomorrow. Big mistake. You don't want to leave people alone. You want to be able to basically give them the education they need so they feel comfortable in that first day, that first week. And this engagement coordinator, which is what my book is about, is I suggest people look at their organization and find a person within that organization who's very warm, knows the company, loves the company, has been there a while. Let them be your shepherd. Let them be your ambassador. Let them be your designated driver of retention.
That's a good idea.
Wrap your arm around them, have them meet them that first day, and take them to, they're not going to train. They're just going to be checking in with them. How are you doing? How'd you do today? What else do you need to learn? I'm going to check with you at lunch. I'm buying you lunch. At the end of the day, I'm going to check in with you, see how your day went. I'll meet you tomorrow at the door. I'm going to take you to this training. I think you'll find it interesting. You have to do this, especially now with the millennials, because, let's face it, they grew up with, we had the ATM card and we showed them how to use it. They expect things to happen immediately, and they expect their career to move quickly as well. And they really want to be in it to win it, and they really want to be part of something right off the bat because they've got a lot of options, and they will walk away.
Do you find generationally, whether it's the younger generations to right up to the older, I mean, you still got baby boomers who are still working, that there is a difference, Gen X, I mean, is there a difference with each generation as to how they could be tended to as an employee?
100%. For the first time in history, there are 4 generations working in the workplace. This is the first time in history this has happened. So people say, well, how do you do that? You get these really young folks coming in, and they know the technology like crazy, and then you get these older people that are working in the industry. The baby boomers right now that are looking to retire, they still want to stay engaged. They're living longer. They need to make money. So a very smart employer would say, how about if instead of you retiring next year, you work with me a couple of days a week, and if they're good trainers, help me train. Help me continue to keep the boat going. Let's get these young people on board. Help us out with that. Then you've got the young people that people say, the millennials, they're really tough to work with and all that. They're smart, and they're obviously fabulous with technology. Do some inverse training. Have the young folks teach the older folks with their skills and their technologies and what they understand to get them familiar. And have these older folks teach them a lot about leadership skills and soft skills, and it's an opportunity. It is absolutely not a disaster, depending how you look at it. We need to adapt.
How about in regards to philosophies, though? Because I think generationally philosophies differ as well as to what's perceived. I know that, the one thing that my mom and my dad always taught me is that you work, you earn, you keep, you work your way up the ladder. You know what I mean? You wait your turn. There are other folks who see it as, I want to be a fast mover. I want to be somebody who, if there's an opportunity, I'm going to seize it.
Right.
How do you give that advice or consult with a company in regards to being able to, deal with the different philosophies?
I really don't think it's easy to talk about commonalities, but you really can't,
There's no it's not a
you can't do
a blanket fix.
You can't do it. I've interviewed, because I'm slowly working on my next book, which is interviewing people that have been working at organizations that are millennial, a little bit older, for 5 or 6 years, and they're happy. So what's keeping them? So we just can't say, they're going to stay a year, don't train them too well, then they're out of here. Don't do that, because if you actually do invest in them and you do put time into them, they're going to feel that you have invested in them, and they're going to think twice before they jump ship, because they feel like, hey, they care about me here, I'm learning. So it's just not as cut and dry as being, just saying across the board, they don't stay long, don't work with them, don't adapt. We really need to take the opportunity and do that. And I don't think companies look at it that way. I think they look at it like, oh no, here's another millennial. Don't do it. They bring a lot to the table.
Do you find yourself, again, being an author, you're here talking about the 2 books that you've written. Again, you're working on your 3rd book, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
When you're brought in as a consultant, what's that like, knowing that folks have read a lot of the work that you've done? What's that like to be consulted? And do you check back to see if, in fact, they are applying some of the information that you've shared with them?
I do to all that, and I'll tell you, I've worked as a upper level manager. Most of my career, I've been very lucky that people have taken me on as a senior level. So I've been able to be at the tables and really look at what's going on with organizations. But I've always walked my talk because I couldn't figure out when I was writing this book why and I do mean this sincerely, I have not lost one employee from dissatisfaction. So what the heck was I doing? So what I did was, in the midst of the research, I was putting my own practices in because I know they work. So when I meet with somebody that hires me to do consulting and they say, we want to do this engagement coordinator because we have, for instance, I'm working right now for an animal hospital and they have different shifts. So they need an engagement coordinator to help new people that start the day shift and the night shift. So we have to have a couple of engagement coordinators. And they just rolled it out last week and I got an email this morning that said, oh my God, Doreen, it's working. We're really excited. The person came back the second day. I thought, second day? That's how bad their turnover was. People weren't coming back a second day. So I said, okay, but I want to hear how you do Friday. Now that, they wanted to do just a brief consulting with me because they feel they could do it. They could do a lot of it themselves. But I said, I'm still going to stick my big nose in. I want to know how you're doing. I'm going to keep checking in. And she says, that's great. Please do. So absolutely, that's what it's about. This engagement coordinator, what really works is that they're consistent. For the first 90 days, they keep checking in. I want to know how that's going. So absolutely, follow-up is critical.
It's easy enough to sit here and talk about your finished product, but what a lot of people don't understand, and I've had the privilege to talk to a lot of authors over my career, and it's that, getting through the very first book, because a lot of times you're a little bit more pickier, you're a little bit more uncertain. You get to a certain point when you're writing, you might have a little bit of a writer's block. It's a craft, it's something. What was it like for you sitting down and writing your first book?
Picture a fire hose. And it's on, and you don't know how to shut it off. Honestly, that's what it was like.
Really?
I couldn't stop. I'd go to bed at night. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking, it's still dark. I shouldn't get up. I'm going to be exhausted later in the day because I'm working full time too, writing a book. But I couldn't help it. I needed to go back down, turn the light on because the ideas were, and I wanted to fix it. And it was like I'm on a mission. I want to help as many, at any level, as many companies as possible. Whether I go in and I talk to hiring managers and say, look, onboarding is a retention tool. This is how we can do it. Or whether I talk to leaders and have them think about this and say, yeah, our onboarding stinks, we have to relook at this. Or I go in and I do something called camaraderie campfires. So camaraderie campfires are really neat. I did this years ago for Mayor Menino, and I had a wait list for my classes, which only tells me that it was okay then. I was doing them because of the diversity. They were bringing in people from all different countries to come in and work in the area hospitals, and there was a clash going on. Because people from different countries have different values, and they have different practices. They even walk at a different pace. So I had to find a way to create a workshop where I brought all these people together, and they could learn about each other and like and respect each other when they went back to work. So I did these, and I love doing them, and they're very effective. So I'm now getting clients saying to me, my biggest challenge, Doreen, is that the boomers and the millennials and the Gen X, they're not really getting along. They have different ideas on how to do things. One wants to come in at 8:30 instead of 8 o'clock, but they're willing to work later, but we close at 5. Should I be flexible? Can I be flexible? Meanwhile, the boomers aren't happy that the millennials are having that attitude. So how do you gen blend? She said, yeah, how do we blend the generations? So these camaraderie campfires are very exciting because I'll put anywhere between 15 and 25 people in a group, and I'll put an activity on the table, and we all really get into it, and these people get to learn about each other at a human level. And all of a sudden, the 27-year-old doesn't think that he's an old son of a gun. Now she understands where he's coming from, and she knows that because they worked on this activity together in this classroom style where they're like, I get him and I like him. He's a great guy. I had no idea he had such a heart. So these activities I've put together is another way to help engage people and retain people to be happier in the work environment.
Is this something that you created, again, these different exercises, is this stuff that you created yourself? Is this something that you dreamed up and you've been able to put pen to paper And this is something that you've patented.
I probably should be patenting them, but I haven't really shared them with many people. So I probably be wise to kind of look at that from to stand back and look at that. But again, I'm so excited that they're working and they're effective, and that the managers call me later and say, those two people that didn't get along had lunch today, Doreen. They had lunch after this workshop. And I go, that's what it's about. They go, yeah, but we gave this a chance. We didn't know this was really going to work. That's like a calling. I mean, look, we need people to work well in an organization. When you call Comcast on the phone, you call a company, you don't want them hanging up on you. You want them to say, I'll get that for you, or hold on, Susan's better at this than me, hold on.
Right.
It helps everybody,
right. Just some of the information from your website. 40% of the new employees leave within the first 90 days. Mm-hmm. Less than 15% of employees are engaged worldwide.
Right.
That's an interesting statistic. More than 50% of employees are looking to leave their current jobs. Mm-hmm. And more than 75% of employees would work more hours for a more empathetic employer.
100%.
Very interesting.
People don't quit their jobs; they quit their boss. It's interesting. The millennials right now, we talk a lot about them, but of course they have to have a boss. But they don't really want a boss. They want a mentor. And when you think of yourself years ago, would you have preferred, because everyone's ready to bash everyone when they're not going to fall into line, the way we all thought about things. But would you have rather a mentor or a boss when you started out? Did you want to learn, or did you want someone to tell you what to do?
I think I wanted a little bit of both. I wanted a mentor, but I want somebody who was, somebody that you respect, who would say, "This is what we're doing." And I've been fortunate throughout my career to have exceptional employers who maybe I've just been lucky throughout my career. I don't know, but I've had the chance to work with a lot of great people, learn from a lot of great people, right up until today, where you always want to be learning, no matter what age you are.
Absolutely.
And, but not everybody is like me. I mean,
No,
I see people. I mean, I just came back from a trip to, an amusement park. I won't say which one. Mm-hmm. But just seeing the different people, the different cultures coming together, and how some cultures some people from one culture or background have a way of how they do things.
Exactly.
To folks from another.
All right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But just back to the mentors for a minute, is sometimes people think a mentor is going to be someone at their own level, and they're going to be pals. They're going to have beers together that night. It's not what they're looking for. They're definitely looking for a sort of boss, but they're looking for a mentor, meaning they want to continue to learn. They want someone to respect them, bring them into those executive meetings. They kind of want to see what's going on within the company. And that mentor has a huge responsibility. He has to really, or she has to be a role model. So that is a boss. When you're looking up to someone and they have credibility, that is still a role model, and that is critical. You can't look. But please listen to what you do, what you say, how you walk, how you talk, what you wear, if you swear. It all matters, and I think people kind of lose that. They kind of lose that. Same with the onboarding. Yeah, we have a 2-day training, and then we let them go. Well, I was talking to a chef friend the other day, and he said to me, "I hired her on Monday. On Saturday, she quit." I go, "Well, how long is your onboarding?" "Doreen, for 2 days, we gave them training." I said, 2 days? What happened on the third day? "Well, she realized she couldn't carry the heavy trays." I said, "You didn't let her know about those heavy trays when she was hired, when she was going to have to carry, what kind of pounds she'd be lifting?" I didn't mention that. Well, if you had a onboarding program that was consistent and organized, you wouldn't be losing people like this, because they would know what to expect.
You had a chance to do another book, How to Drive Employee Retention. My understanding is it's kind of similar to the first book. What was the purpose of the second book?
That second book really is, like I say, the first one is focused for senior living communities and healthcare providers, because they have the highest.
This one's a little broader.
This is broader. This will talk to somebody that I know, a gentleman who owns a liquor store. He has actually a couple of them and a couple of gas stations. And he's having a real challenge engaging them when he's not in one office, in one building, being able to check in with them with this one engagement coordinator, how are you doing, how are you doing? He has them all over the place. So that book was helpful to him because he's not a healthcare provider. But it is a challenge, though, for companies that have different locations, because how do you engage? I mean, I know how, I'm telling people how, but it's a challenge. How do you engage people that are, if you have offices all over the place, how do you keep your tabs and people engaged and happy and connected and learning if you can't be with them face to face? There are ways you can do that, but that's what that book helps with.
A lot of this delve into policies and procedures and human resources, or is it just a matter of just the overall makeup of the company and how they are welcoming to folks who are going to come to work for them?
I made it as simple as possible, honestly. The first part of the book is why this is important. The second part is what are the traits that leader has to have, because some people are being managers, right, and they don't know how to deal with people. So these are the traits. And the last part is literally from day one, the day you say, hi, John, we'd like to offer you that job, can't wait for you to start. When they hang up, that's when the onboarding starts. And in the book, what I do is I tell them exactly what to do. That first day, that second day, the first week, the day they start. So it's a step-by-step plan. Anyone can take it. If they follow it, they can do this onboarding. If they don't want to do that, they want to bring me in, great. They're going to get my enthusiasm. I'm going to make sure it happens for them. But if they don't want to, that's what the book is written to do, so that it's a plan they can follow themselves.
Are you somebody who's at the point where maybe this information, someone as a consultant that you may look to have a company of your own, and maybe you find a way to be the Yoda, be the person who passes on that information and have others who are able to deliver that message to companies in need when they're trying to drive employee retention?
I'd like to get to a point where I can help as many people as possible, however that looks. However that looks, yeah.
Really?
You want to work for me?
I think I love what I do here. I love what I do in the media, but it would be something that's interesting.
You'd be someone fun to interview for me, because I'm looking to talk to people who've been somewhere a while, love what they do, and what is it? It's not always the money. It's not always the money.
It's funny you say that, because when I look, social media is fantastic entertainment. For others, they see it as a source of engaging individuals.
True.
Depending on what their behavior and what the conversation is. But there's too many times I see people who are disgruntled with their job. I hate my job, and I'm like, well, why aren't you trying to find a way to find something that you enjoy, or find something, at least if you're kind of stuck within one particular field, find something within that field that you enjoy, that you can excel at, and it also be part of a team. That's the other thing is do you feel that you're a part of the team, or are you the one person who's more saying I?
Yeah, no. You're right. I think people have to take responsibility when they're miserable. However, what a great opportunity for their their manager to say, hey, Kevin, let's sit down. I've noticed that you are just totally disengaged. You're not happy.
Yeah, what is it?
You're not happy. Talk with me, because if I can help, I want to help. Do you want to learn new things? Are you you're interested in learning something in a different department? Hate to lose somebody great. On the same hand, we can't have you this miserable, because that negativity, it rubs off. It's like a cancer, and
Right.
we can't have it here. So
Right.
what can I do to help you feel better and have a better workplace environment for yourself? I would do that before I'd fire somebody. I'd say, and I've had to in my past. I've had to say to people, I know you're not happy here. Something has to change. I'll help you change. If you can't change, it's not going to work. And I've said right to them, it's not going to work. And my boss once said to me, you can't just say that. You've got to give them 3 warnings. I said, I'm not telling them they're leaving. I'm just letting them know that we got to work on this.
You're not going to believe this, but we got just a couple of minutes left.
Oh, okay.
It's been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
Before I ask you to give out essential information in regards to how they can purchase either one of these 2 books that we've talked about.
Thank you.
Find out more about you as somebody who's a speaker or consultant, because who knows? There could be somebody who's at home, or somebody who's viewing this on social media. It's like this book could be something that'll help my business, no matter what the size of the business is.
Super.
Tease us a little bit about the 3rd book that you're working on, if you will, some of the details.
Sure. So what's the truth, right? What is the truth behind why people stay? So I've already interviewed a couple of people, and I'm planning on interviewing
Completing the
more.
trilogy, is that what you're doing?
Yes, yes. I'm going to work on the other end. What is keeping you? So I understand what will drive the first 90 days, but now beyond that, why are you staying 10 years, 11 years, 6 years, 4 years when people say, oh, people turn a year or two? No. What's keeping people? It's different for everybody as I'm learning, but I'd like employers and people to see that they're going to see it's a lot of different things. So you can't just, it's not just throwing more money at people. So I'm going to get really down into that information.
Excellent. So folks want to find out more about Doreen Lang, want to find, if they want to get one of your 2 books, whether it's Hanging Onto Your Stars or How to Drive Employee Retention, how can they do that?
Very simple. It's a simple website, hangontoyourstars.com. hangontoyourstars.com. So they go on that and they can click to call me, they can email me, my books are on there, and I also had a jewelry designer design bracelets for me because I've been selling them this Christmas and they're great. They're just little stars that hang onto these bracelets, and I know a lot of men wouldn't be interested in wearing them, but they can buy them for their significant others. But a huge healthcare organization in Boston just bought a couple dozen to give to her staff for Christmas. So these are on my website too, but most importantly, hangontoyourstars.com. I'd love to help them out, have them reach out to me through that.
Is that the only way for folks to purchase a book, or where is it available? Is it available on, like I mentioned, Amazon earlier?
Amazon. They can type in right on Amazon, hangontoyourstars.com, boom, or How to Drive, or Doreen Lang. It'll come up for both my books.
And how has the book been received since it's been on the shelves or available?
You know, very well. People are calling me in to consult after they read it because they want someone to help them put it in place because they're just too busy to do it. But they love the plan. They feel it's going to work, and they're excited.
What's if you could give me like one memorable thing somebody's has come up to you, or they've invited you to stop by the company, what's the first thing that they say to you in regards to reading it? Do you got anything verbatim you could share?
Yeah, one woman came up to me and she said, "You know, Doreen, I know just seems kind of sort of basic, but you drill down to a point where it is really helpful. And we've started without you, and have to say we're all excited. It's kind of rejuvenated our whole team. What's better than that?"
Well, I want to thank you so much for
Thank you.
being a guest.
Thank you.
You do understand, though, that once you've done the 3rd book, we will have to bring you in to talk about that, because I am interested
Oh,
in
I'm interested to learn this.
the truth. And if you need subjects, I'm sure you and I can talk, and we can figure out some other folks who could sit down with you and give you an idea as to why they have stayed as long as they have.
That'd be fantastic. That's what I'm looking for.
You got it.
Okay.
I want to thank you very much for tuning into this particular special program that Whitman Hands Community Access offers, as we will look to bring you more authors, whether they're local here in the Whitman-Hanson area or regionally up in Boston or somewhere in the Northeast. You have been watching Today's Author. Have a good day.